I basically like got dragged to it by the floor. I was so stressed. I'm the type of person where not taking care of myself, you don't necessarily see it on the outside. Like I was probably in the best shape I've ever been. I'd been running further than I ever had. I just went straight into like total health and wellness, bro. What are you running away from type vibes. I kind of said it as a joke, but I was like, worst case, it's a vacation in Costa Rica. Yeah. And I'll never forget, like they both went quiet, and like Joe like said through the Zoom, he was like, just so you know, it's called Breathwork. Like there's going to be some work. And I was like, oh, okay. Totally changed as a person. I just had so many things that like became like clear. I had a lot of shit come up that I had just been like suppressing. I used this term with you the other day of like an emotional plunger, right? I began to just let it all out in a way that I had never done before. And at the start of that session, like my flame was small, man. Like I was just so burnt out from the work that I was doing, from things that I thought that I wanted to do. And by the end, I had a bonfire. I live in these like two worlds that on the outside look like they have nothing in common. Like one is in the coding trenches all day. The other one is on a beach in Costa Rica.
The stupid gap is the space between who you are and who you need to become in order to build a life that you don't want to escape. My guest today is Jack Lesser. Jack found himself in the stupid gap when he chose to walk away from a life that looked perfect on paper to pursue a version of himself that he met through breathwork. If you resonate with any part of Jack's story, or if you find this episode to be valuable at all, please consider subscribing. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much. Enjoy. Right now in your life, Jack, what are you most excited about?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny because like, what am I excited about? What am I bullish about? Like, I think that something that I've gotten like really deep down the rabbit hole in over the last, let's call it year and a half, let's just say over the last 18 months, has been a full deep dive into this world of freedom technology. So like AI, Bitcoin, open source development, privacy, human rights, like activism, all these things. But then also at the same time, I've gone down a just as deep rabbit hole of like a freedom from technology, where like I am so aware both within myself and my peers of how much technology we're using. I don't think it's good for us for how much we're using, and how can like we combat that. And I've found that through practices like yoga and breathwork specifically. But so what I'm excited about is I live in these like two worlds that on the outside look like they have nothing in common. Like one is in the coding trenches all day. The other one is like on a beach in Costa Rica. But I think that those worlds are actually going to merge because the best of both of them is in the middle of that Venn diagram, where like you're going to use technology to ultimately reach freedom, and you're going to use that freedom to live a, I don't know if prosperous, but like wealthy life is something that I think we can like return to our roots in a sense of like community, of like spirituality, wellness, health, good food, just actual connection. And I kind of like coined that phrase of like freedom technology, freedom from technology, with like the handshake emoji in the middle earlier this year, because I've just seen it where like a lot of people, when I tell them about some of the things that I do on that more spiritual side, they're like, oh, I need that. And then the opposite is kind of true too, where I'm like talking to some of my yogi spiritual friends and I'm like, yeah, like this Bitcoin thing is really cool. Like, you know, it's freedom money. And they're like, at first they're usually kind of turned off to it, but then they're like, wait, what, like say that again, of like money without borders and like permissionless, and wait, that's actually pretty dope. So like this convergence of these worlds, and then, you know, it just creates so many opportunities where I think there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of room for like personal growth within myself, as speaking about these things and just like figuring out what it even means that I'm talking about. Because a lot of it I'm kind of, it's not that I'm making it up as I go, but it's like I'm seeing more problems that continue to arise, and what are those solutions, and how can I help be either a leader or some sort of like player in the space that at least helps people get in touch with themselves to the point where they're not like driving themselves crazy and they're not like breaking.
So you say that when you talk about these types of things, like with your tech friends, that, you know, they ask more about it, like how do they get into it, and how do they start to realize this in their life? And so how did you find the spiritual side of your life? What led you down that path?
Yeah, man. I mean, I basically like got dragged to it, like by the floor. I was so stressed. So I moved to Austin about 2.5 years ago, and basically in January of 2024, it would have been January 6th, special date in my heart, for different reasons.
All right. You say so?
No. The reason why that date is special for me is because that was when I had my first breathwork experience. So I had been living in Austin for a little bit. At the time, I was still kind of finding my footing. I had like my interests. I had a job that I knew that I wasn't in for the long haul. I wanted to figure out how to off-ramp this job, but like I didn't know what to do, and frankly, it paid really well. So it was kind of like golden-handcuffs type situation, is what I came to learn that to be.
Corporate?
Oh yeah, very corporate. And one of my friends in Austin, he put on a lot of different events around the city, and that's actually where I met a lot of my current friends. So thank you, shout out Dom, for that. But he was hosting. Typically, they were like fun, like day at the park or ultimate frisbee or like soccer type pickup games. But this one was a breathwork journey, and it was hosted by him at Squatch, facilitated by two people. Big Joe Fourier and Michelle Flores. And I like don't really know. I didn't really know what breathwork was. I'd meditated a lot, but like I never went deep down a meditation rabbit hole. I just like did meditation, if that even makes sense. Like I would kind of sit in silence, which of course is meditation. And I've come to learn that. But like I was not in that season of my life. I was in a very work, figure out this new life in Austin, as well as in a really toxic relationship. But so I recognized Joe's last name because I grew up in Boston, and his uncle, what I came to find out, was a player on the Patriots Super Bowl teams. He was a tight end on those early 2000s Patriots teams. And I was like, all right, like even if I don't like this thing, no, that'd be funny. That'd be sick. Yeah. But I was like, worst case, I'll tell this guy like what's up and introduce myself and whatever. It was the craziest experience I ever had. It was a 2-hour breathwork session. Again, I'd only done like maybe 10 minutes of breathwork before, like maybe if that. And this was 2 hours. Like so
this would be holotropic breathwork.
He has his own method called the big breath method. But so it's like a little bit of holotropic. It's a lot of somatic. It's a lot of just like deep breath holds. Like you go through an entire journey, like a lot. And that was an experience that like, it was kind of out of body, but it was also super, super like come to. Like I had like the tetany, like the cerebral palsy, like crazy. I felt every emotion in the book. And I woke up from that. I just remember like looking around being like, I think I'm stressed. And like, I'd never really had that, realization. Like I would I'd joke around that I'm stressed or whatever, but I never truly came to face with that. And I was like, there are some conversations that I need to have, because like there are things in my life that I'm either people pleasing or I'm getting taken advantage of in other ways, and I'm just not taking ownership for other things. So that was January then. And like,
before you got to that breath work, like you said that you had not really done it so much and you just kind of found it. So like what was your mindset like stepping into the breath work? Were you fearful? Were you apprehensive? Were you skeptical? Were you?
I think I told myself that I was like just going to support my friend who was hosting the event. I honestly came in with no real expectation, which is funny because like there was a poem that I shared on my LinkedIn and Twitter and Substack today of like no cherished outcome, and it's this Celtic poem of approach, and it's like have no cherished outcome, where
So no expectation.
yeah, no expectation of others, of goals, of things like that. Like just go in with an open mind, basically. And what's interesting is like I think I was kind of living my life a lot that way, of just going through the motions on a really like what I would consider beaten path. Like I was following a lot, and that my move to Austin was the first time in a while in my life, like throughout, like I did some different things in college, but I also did a lot of the like stereotypical like East Coaster that goes to a Midwest college, joins a fraternity, like all these things, partied a lot, do the things that are also good for the resume, like leadership positions, to get the big job out of college, move to the big city. Like I did a lot of these things that on paper, and I am proud of in most of these actions, if not all, but like it was very just almost cookie cutter. And I was kind of living with the no cherished outcome of like, okay, yeah, I'll just do it. But I didn't actually think about the outcome after, if that makes sense.
It wasn't intentional. It was
there wasn't a lot of
right.
It was just like, this is what we do. This is how you do it. But there was some part in like the back of my head that knew that I wanted to.
Where do you think that came from though? Where do you think that script, that narrative, how do you think you got on that path to begin with?
I mean, I grew up in a very small town. I had like under 300 people in my graduating class. It was definition of a bubble. Like it was, you went through grade school, you went to a big college, or a lot of people went to like some of the best colleges in the country. And I just saw like what my older brothers had been doing, what people that I looked up to and still look up to, don't get me wrong, to this day were doing. And I was like, I want that. Like, I want that. So I just kind of did it. And like, I would sprinkle in my own flavor here and there, like doing some things that were different. Like in high school, I ran for student body president and fulfilled that role for a few years, which was, but so I did these small things that like I got a lot of joy out of. But then also it was like playing the sports that I thought that not that I thought that I had to play, but like I played because other people were doing it, like other friends and stuff. Again, went to Indiana University. I have two older brothers. One of them also went to IU. So I followed him there, joined the same fraternity as him. And like, it was just like a very comfortable path. Like again, nothing wrong with it. I had a ton of fun, like, and I think I actually got a lot out of those experiences. But I started to like notice that I wanted to like what were some of the like things that I looked back on that I had like, that I was like, wait, that was actually like dope. And it was just when I would take like a slight left turn off the path or like a slight right-hand turn. So I think that was starting to kind of grow in the back of my head as I was living in Chicago, like coming out of COVID, coming out of a other relationship, that I learned a lot about myself through that one. And I just began to like think, okay, what do I really want? And where is the thing that I want? So I basically was, how do I say this? I basically knew that there was a lot of things happening here in Austin. There was a lot in the tech space. I had been around the Bitcoin like space and following it since like 2017 when I was a senior in high school. And And I knew that I wanted to either work or do something adjacent in the space. I was like, well, how do I do that? Because it's like I need to meet these people. Like I'm a in-person type of guy. I don't have like, I'm not like the type of person that necessarily just finds Twitter friends. And a lot of people in the Bitcoin world, at least at the time, were on Twitter. Many of them still are, but so I was like, all right, I need to be where the energy is. I need to be like kind of proximity to power type stuff. So I knew I wasn't going to be in Chicago for the long haul. I had no family out there and whatever. I didn't want to move up to like Lincoln Park and start to like set roots out in Chicago. It just, Chicago, I don't have anything bad to say about it. But I had enough after like a year and a half, 2 years ish of living there. So I picked up my stuff and I moved to Austin. I kept the same job. So that was like, what was cool, I guess, about that former job was like, because there was such a large corporation, I was such a little like, I was such a little piece of the pie that when I put in that request to move to Austin, like they were like, sure. like nobody goes into the office anyways. It was just totally easy. So I picked up my stuff and I moved to Austin. I knew one person down here basically, when I moved down here, and people were like saying to me like that was a big risk and all these things, but it felt really natural to me. I'd been here once before for a work trip, and like I just, it felt like a city that I could live in. Like I don't know why, it's hard to explain, but it just felt right. So I moved to Austin, but it did take me a little bit to find my footing. So I found like I was trying to go to different community things. I was trying to go to different like Bitcoin meetups and stuff. And I think part of it was I think the relationship that I was in, which we were doing distance. I think that was like part of me that was like, no, you should be doing like, you should be doing like the quote unquote right thing. And that led to me having all these symptoms of falling into bad patterns, bad habits, of like just not taking care of myself. And I'm the type of person where not taking care of myself isn't necessarily, you don't necessarily see it on the outside. Like I was probably in the best shape I've ever been. I'd been running further than I ever had. Like I just went straight into like total health and wellness, bro. What are you running away from type vibes? And
but that's something that I think a lot is a blind spot for a lot of people.
1,000%.
It's a blind spot for a lot of people.
1,000%. And I was so hungry for like connection and friends that I would just go to run clubs, and then these run clubs ended up becoming like weekend long runs, and I wasn't even training for anything. I called it my Forrest Gump era, because I would just roll out of bed and like run like half a marathon. I'm like, I realized like that was so dumb. Like I wasn't prepping properly. I wasn't recovering properly.
But you were moving.
I was moving, you know, on the surface I looked healthy, and I probably looked happy too.
So you grew up in this bubble of small town Massachusetts. Massachusetts. Then you just got put on this path of, you know, watching, you know, your older brothers kind of move through college, and you got on this predestined path and whatever. And then you had this moment where you were like, okay, Austin seems cool. You were into Bitcoin, and then you're getting into this space of like, okay, what are all these people doing? And you were running from something. At the time you didn't recognize it, but you go to this breathwork, and this breathwork is this moment of wake up for you.
Yeah, the breathwork was initially, it was a realization of you're stressed, like I said, and I was also people pleasing a lot. So I was saying yes to everything, partially because I wanted to make friends in Austin, but also because I just like, I was doing what I thought that I had to do in order to like be successful or come across as successful. And after that breathwork session, I started to have some real conversations with people in my life. Basically that relationship like ended like that week. Like there was a lot of shit that happened that was uncool. And I realized like I couldn't accept that as a man. Then fast forward to South by Southwest. So just like 2 months later in March, Michelle and Joe came back and they did another session. And
So your first session was like, hey, I think I'm stressed. I think something's wrong here.
yeah. And in between those, and in between those 2 times I had some real conversations, but I also like, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm now practicing breathwork all the time.
Yeah,
and like,
okay.
I hadn't gone down that rabbit hole yet. I just like knew that experience was really cool. And there was something that I could consider exploring more. And then when they came back and I got that notification, I was like, all right, yeah, I'll try it out again. Like the first one was free. This one was like, I don't know, $15, $20 ticket, but like, I'll try it again because I just thought that was really cathartic. And that second session, same format, same facilitator, like very similar. I ended up having a continuation of like the thoughts and almost the visions that I had in the first time, where it was like the first time, like I think like he started the journey basically guiding us like into like a water, like into an ocean, right? And like you end up like going under the water, and like I was like, you know, I'm floating in the middle of the ocean, and then I'm like by like the pyramids of Giza, and like it was just like totally trippy, but it was also like I was so freaking like tight and all this, and I had a continuation of that vision.
Was it immediate? Like, did you immediately drop into that space?
No, I don't think so. But there was something to the way that Michelle and Joe showed up that made me feel so safe that I was able to just like, I was able to find that presence. And that's what I've found in now, like coming to present day of like, of my breathwork practice is like, really it's the safety of finding presence in wherever you are. And sometimes the safety is more so in your head than in the outside. Where group classes are really interesting is because you're surrounded by strangers more often than like it's internal and external. So like the good guides can make you feel at least safe on the external to then come into the internal. And when you're breathing in such an intentional way, you can just like shut your brain off. And like I mean, in some instances, you're literally cutting oxygen to your brain. So I just felt really safe there, and I woke up from that session again. Like I was like, okay, like that was cool. Like that was really freaking cool. And I'm talking to Michelle and Joe after, and I'm like that was freaking awesome. Like thank you guys so much. And they like both remembered me from the last session. And they were so just grateful for me being there and my presence. And I felt that. And they were like, oh, by the way, we're hosting a retreat in Costa Rica in like, I think it was in like 2 months. I don't know. It was soon. But they're like, we're hosting a retreat in Costa Rica. You should totally come. And I have never done anything like that. Like talk about like, you know, I hadn't even taken a vacation really, since I left school. Like I would only take vacations for like holidays to like visit families and stuff. So, you know, like family vacation is not like going to some exotic place on the beach vacation.
It's like going to a breathwork retreat in Costa Rica.
Yeah, exactly. But my first response to that was, I don't know. Maybe I'll think about it. Like I was kind of trying to be nice of like, because in the back of my head, I'm like, no way. Like I would never do that. But they planted that seed, and I just like kept kind of thinking about it. And then they kind of both like followed up on Instagram after being like, hey, like you should totally come. So like on one hand they were selling me, but it was also like, wait, like, is this a sign? Is this a sign? And I remember I was interviewing for a job at like a really small Bitcoin mining startup. At the same time, it was for a role that I shouldn't have even been like considered for, not because it was like an assistant role. It was an executive assistant role. Like I was just not in that profile for the role, but I was through those 2 journeys. I was also, and just over the course of the year, I was like, or the last 2 or 3 years at the time, I was like, I want to leave this job. Like one of the reasons why I moved to Austin was to find a new job. And I thought that might be the one in the space that I could like break into. So I'm meeting with the CEO of this company. We're talking about it, have a really good conversation. But I also kind of knew, like, I was like, well, the title of this job is like an executive assistant. Like, are you just going to need me to like book your flights and stuff? Cause that's not what I want to do. Like, that's not what I want to do at all. And he was kind of wishy-washy about it. So I like had some qualms, but I was also like, like, I was almost like so desperate that I was like, if they offer me this job, like I'll take it.
Sure.
But what I did do in that same vein of ultimatum was I was like, if I get this job, then it's very easy to say no to the Costa Rica trip. But if I don't get this job, then full send Costa Rica, like full send. And thank you, God, I did not get that job. So I pretty much booked Costa Rica like the next day. And that was the final like thought process for me was like, worst case scenario, it's a vacation in Costa Rica. Like worst case scenario. And leading up to the trip, I'm, like doing work stuff. I'm telling people that I'm going on this breathwork trip. They're like, what are you talking about? Like they didn't get it. It's whatever. But I do remember, before I left on the trip, I had a call with Joe and Michelle, and they're basically like giving me the itinerary and rundown of how it was going to go. And I said that exact thing to them of like, yeah, worst case, I kind of said it as a joke, but I was like, worst case, it's a vacation in Costa Rica. Yeah. And I'll never forget, like they both went quiet, and like Joe like said through the Zoom, he's like, just so you know, it's called breathwork. Like there's going to be some work. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And like, I remember they, before that call, they asked me to write an intention of what I wanted, out of the trip. And I hadn't really thought of it. And I went out and had a few drinks the night before that and like had a fun time. But I remember I was like, oh, this is what I want. And it was a quote from Dana White where he basically said, create a life that you don't ever want to retire from.
Create a life you don't want to escape.
Exactly.
That's the tagline of this podcast.
So I was like, so they were like, what do you want to get out of this trip? I was like, well, I want to create a life that I never want to retire from. And worst case scenario, it's a vacation to Costa Rica.
Right.
And
so you're following the seeds of curiosity, basically. And then you like, I would almost say it kind of sounds like fear prevented you from jumping at this initially.
Yeah.
Where you're like, this job, this executive assistant job is safe. It'll get me where I want to go. But if it doesn't work out, then I get a vacation out of it or whatever.
Yeah. It was a lot of fear-based decision making. I would definitely attribute that. I mean, yeah, that job honestly will just come down as like a blip. Yeah. It was also, I had known that I was really stressed. I had known that I needed to I don't want to say take control, but I needed to basically have like a reset of my reset, because I moved to Austin to reset a lot of things, to start fresh and to try this new experiment of like meeting new people and being somewhere where I don't have any family, I have very few friends, and like just start from zero. And then over the first 6 months, I like thought that I was doing a good job, but then I came to kind of grips of like, wait, am I doing a good job? Because like there was so much shit that was piling up that I was like either avoiding or I was just allowing. And then it kind of led to just exactly that, following the curiosity. And I've always had like this kind of just interest in people who are super well traveled and have like stories on stories. And I thought that maybe I could be that in a weird way. What I've come to learn is I like those experiences because I just meet more people like that. So I can ask those questions and like hear those stories. Like that's what one of the many reasons why I like talking to you is because like you just have so many like stories and experiences from all over the world where you have such a deep understanding of these different cultures and how people operate and why like they do what they do in ways that I don't necessarily think about. So like that was like a crumb, I guess. And when I finally got to Costa Rica, man, I just like, we pulled like tarot cards the first night, and my initial intention was create a life that you don't want to retire from. But then this tarot card, and I'm like not even into this shit at the time. I'm still not really into tarot stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of witchcraft. But regardless, the card that I pulled, it was it was basically like surrender, and so I'm like getting into this place. I know no one there other than Joe and Michelle. There's like 15 other people on the retreat. I'm like, fuck it. Like, yeah, I'll surrender. I'll just do not what I'm asked, but like I will fully dive into this experience and see what happens. And over the course of, I think it was 5 days, did so much breath work, dude. Like totally changed as a person. I just had so many things that like became like clear. I had a lot of shit come up that I had just been like suppressing, and I used this term with you the other day of like an emotional plunger, right? Where like I began to just let it all out in a way that I had never done before. And
what was that process like, that plunging of
dude, I mean, it was a lot. It was experiencing and labeling emotions that I had never even considered, emotions like loneliness, depression, happiness, joy, like what is my purpose, like just a lot of existential shit. But then also areas where I still fall and succumb to this sometimes, like where I'm people pleasing, where I'm biting my tongue because I don't want to cause conflict, even if I don't agree or believe in what's going on. It was a lot of different like methods on how to just like become in touch with our body, of why certain things might come up when they do come up, and what's the appropriate response to that. Like I don't handle anger well. I'm not a very like forwardly angry person, but what I found was that led me to just suppressing anger altogether. So like shit would happen to me that I should be angry about, but I would feel other emotions. And I'm like, wait, like what? Like it's a common stereotype of men that they're too angry and they see red. And like, I have never experienced that up until there were moments where I experienced it on the beach in Costa Rica, or in that shala. And it was a lot. Like it's funny because when I talk to people about breathwork in general, they'll be like, yeah, but like I don't think I'm doing it right. Like I don't think I'm doing it right, or like I haven't had like a breakthrough. And I mean, I wouldn't say I had like a breakthrough in Costa Rica. I would just say that I did so much breath work throughout those 5 days that I had no other choice. Like when you're doing
a very intentional space.
Yeah, when you're doing 8 hours of breath work a day, like that kind of compresses.
You're gonna shake something loose.
Yeah. But then the other side of it too is like, what do you mean you're not doing it right? Like you just need to focus on your breath and try to turn off the thoughts that are in here that are racing in your mind throughout the entirety of you being awake.
I would challenge that a little bit. I've experienced those feelings of like, I'm not doing this right, in my breathwork journey.
So what I would respond to that is, were you present?
Yeah.
Were you focusing on the breath?
Yeah.
And you think that you weren't doing it right in what way?
So the thing that comes to mind, I was in a group session, and she explained the mechanism and like the cadence and everything. But for me, it was, I needed a little bit more speed. I needed to go a little bit faster. And so like for the first half an hour, I was sitting there, laying there with like 12 other people, and I hear everybody's cathartic release and they're all doing their thing around me. And I'm like, I'm trying to do this breath and I just can't get into it. They're coming over and manipulating me. And then the one guy, I think he either said like faster or something, like he said something to me or whatever, and I changed the cadence, and then all of a sudden I had the lock up, and I went and dropped right in immediately.
Yeah, I mean, this gets into a little bit of the woo-woo, and I think the beauty of group breathwork too, of like maybe there was just a reason for you to be on a different cadence to hold that space for the others that were going through that cathartic moment. You know, it's one of those things where I think the practice, what comes to the surface, you don't need to analyze it immediately in the moment of like, wait, why am I not like seeing these colors or feeling these tingles?
Well, I just learned from that, and then the next time I did it, I knew what cadence I needed to go at, and then I got the full experience.
Right. So that's what's cool about breathwork and about finding different techniques in breathwork too, of like, that will help you drop in and it'll help you find like that presence that you're looking for, if that even makes sense. But that's also again, like, that's why I love group breathwork, because even more so than group like yoga practices, you can really feed off of the room. And a guide who is in control of the room, and when everybody's like breathing in the same kind of resonance, it's powerful. Like there are times when I'll be in a group session where like I'm on the exhale while everybody else is on the inhale. And it's like, I just feel like we're trading oxygen and it's so energizing. And then like, you know, if I'm holding my breath, and like, this is where the inner competitor comes in with me, of like, I'm trying to like hold my breath for a while and I can hear people letting go. I'm like, oh, this is like, they're breathing life into me. Like, thank you. Like, and
but isn't that not necessarily being present?
No, I think that is being present. I think that's holding the space for others. I think I'm aware of my surroundings. And to your point though, what I will say is, yeah, like if you're trying to just hold your breath until you pass out, like that's where breathwork can
I don't necessarily mean that. I'm just talking about the narrative that you're talking about, where it's like, and I guess my question is, as you're sitting in this practice with this group of people and you're recognizing the inhale and the exhale, is there a narrative running in your head, or is it just like that's something that you're just sort of metacognitively aware of in the space? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think probably more the latter. But it's also like, it's part of the experience where like you're with this group, you're on a journey, and then there will be moments where it's just you in the room, or maybe it's just you on the fucking moon because you've left, right? So like I think throughout, especially the longer sessions, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, I mean, we were doing like 3-hour sessions in Costa Rica, just long, like respect to Joe for guiding us, because like I don't even think my playlist is 3 hours long. But jokes aside, is like, you experience all these different emotions, and like even like my deepest trip that I had in Costa Rica, like there was times where my eyes were open and I was like kind of observing the room, but like my mind wasn't there. And like there were other times where I would close my eyes again. So that's what I mean when I say like, there's not a right way to do it, because everybody's practice becomes personal. There are techniques and there are ways to like manipulate your state and find your brain into like theta waves and all these things, if you have that intention. But I also think like Mark Manson put out a great Instagram reel this week where it was just like, if you just sit down for 10 minutes, for 10 seconds, sorry. He was like, if you just sit down for 10 seconds, then you might find yourself just actually sitting there for 10 minutes, because you're like, wait, like I don't want to get out of this. Like I want to accept it for what it is. And all sorts of thoughts can come up, all sorts of ideas can come up, realizations, you know, everything. It became for me just an experience where I was like, oh, like, okay, I am going about my life the wrong way. I'm not taking agency. I'm not taking control of things that I can control. And I'm also, the opposite is true, where I'm trying to control things that I have no control over. And that was really, I guess, releasing for me. Because then I started to see things through a little bit of a different lens, and it also started to make sense for some of the beliefs that I already had, and it helped like verify those in a way that I was able to be like, oh, like actually, yeah, I think I agree with that decision I made, or like Austin is the place where I want to be, and kind of build this career and figure out what that exactly means. And that's okay that I don't know what that means right now, because at least I know that the path that I'm now carving for myself is going to lead to a spot where I'll be happy and wealthy, right? And wealth is in a variety of terms, not just monetarily, but also physically, mentally, spiritually, all those types of things. So yeah, Costa Rica was, I can't recommend it enough.
So it sounds like you had this moment of coming back to self. I mean,
yeah, there was one of the nights,
like true self, not
true self. There was one of the nights, I forget if it was like night 3 or 4, I don't know. But we did these long sessions, and I just remember like talking about, or Joe guiding us was talking about like, you know, finding your flame and like the inner self, and we talked about this a little bit. And at the start of that session, like my flame was small, man. Like I was just so burnt out from the work that I was doing, from things that I thought that I wanted to do. And by the end, I had a bonfire. like, and I said that to Joe after. I was like, dude, you helped me find my flame again. Like, thank you so much. And he's become like one of my best friends, like total mentor to me. And like his journey is just unbelievable of what he's been able to spread, and the other people on that trip. I mean, Michelle as well, like what she's provided for me in terms of like big sister energy of like telling me like shit that I need to hear, especially as I came back into like the real world and integrated that into my life. It just set me off on like a path that was maybe more risky in some respects, but also felt so much more secure in others because I was able to just come back to my true self of like, wait, no, I believe in this thing. And what is it going to look like at the end? I don't fully know that, but I've accepted that. And accepting that has been quite the like, I guess, uncovering of other challenges and other problems that are fun to play around with and discover and kind of like dig around through.
So this experience of breath work, you know, you found your flame again and you came back to self. First of all, what would you say to someone that was, maybe this is the first time they're hearing about breath work, or maybe they've heard about it, but they're apprehensive to go? What would be some words of encouragement that you would offer that person?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, right? Because like breath work, there's not like a core power for breath work where like if somebody's trying to get into yoga, you could be like, oh, just go to the studio, or like there's a studio in every other street. Like it's a little bit harder to find breath work, I think, and it's harder to find good breath work from like a safety perspective. And again, not like safe, like it's going to harm you, but just like where you can drop in. So finding like the right guides. But I think honestly, first off, I mean, Wim Hof, like, and the Joe Dispenza type stuff, like that is very accessible online, and it's a good way to just like find a little bit of presence in your day, or a little bit of activation more so, I guess. I think the most approachable and intro type of breathwork that I've started to teach, and I focus more on the somatic side of breathwork, of like coming into your body and like feeling those emotions, is literally just resonant breathing. Like it's just 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale, and creating that circular breath that allows you to slow your heart rate down. Because most people, I think they hear breathwork and they're like, oh, that is like guided meditation, basically. And that's not totally false. Like there's breath work, there's pranayama, like there's just different techniques that you get into the weeds to. But at the end of the day, like I think it's just helping you get out of your mind and into your body, like into your gut, into your heart, and not worrying about all the things in your head. Yeah. But it's hard to get out of your head. And like,
there's a chemical thing that happens as well throughout, depending on what type of breath work you're doing.
I mean, honestly, throughout pretty much all of the breath work that you're doing, even shallow breathing, like a lot of people just throughout their day are just shallow breathing, and that'll change your alchemy in, I'd argue, negative ways. Like it'll screw up your sleep. It'll screw up your ability to just like send oxygen to areas in your body that need it. Like, yeah, it's getting there, but is it getting there as efficiently as possible? Like, it's funny because when I guide people in breath work, like especially most of them, it's their first time. So it'll just be simple diaphragmatic breath, resonant breathing, right? So again, 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale, and you just try to expand those 5 seconds to the point where it's actually like 10-second inhale, 10-second exhale. That's a little bit more advanced, but when you do this for even 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes, let's say, people will tell me, or they'll come up to me and be like, oh, like my face started tingling or my hands started tingling. Like, what's that mean? Like, does that mean I'm doing it right? And it's like, well, sure. Yeah, I guess. Like, again, there's not really a wrong way to do it, but it's more so most people aren't breathing into their diaphragm. They're not breathing into their belly, basically. Like, your diaphragm is the muscle that sends oxygen to your lungs and helps fill your body up with the energy it needs to survive. So when you breathe into the like lower diaphragm and actually fill up that balloon that's inside you, you're basically sending oxygen to areas of your body that like haven't received it in maybe ever. Probably not ever. Like I love like toddlers have a lot of like big bellies, and you notice that's because they breathe right. But then at some point in time, you just forget. You just don't do it right.
No, it's also the anatomy as well when you're small.
For sure. But it's like, so I think that is a like very simple, just sit or lay down and just begin to breathe. But then find at your local yoga studio or something, even if it's a yin class, like a lot of yoga teachers incorporate some sort of breath work even at the start of the class. And then you can say to the teacher, like, I think yoga is so much more approachable than breath work just from like a mainstream level. Because like the reason why I started doing yoga was because I was like, it's a good workout, like, and it's a good workout, and it's also like good for my mobility.
It's become mainstream as well,
right? So anybody can just like show up to a yoga studio and kind of figure it out. So that's where I've started to use my yoga teaching and my yoga practice as a way to introduce a lot of different types of breath work, where I've had people come up to me after classes and say, oh, like that thing that you did at the start with like Nadi Shodhana or Kapalabhati or different types of breath work or pranayama techniques. They're like, can I explore that a little bit more? And that's turned into like hosting yoga breathwork sessions at my house, where it's a little bit longer. It'll be like, instead of doing like 5 minutes of breathwork and 40 or 50 minutes of flow, it'll be like 20 minutes of flow, 20 minutes of breathwork. So it kind of like slow rolls them in to then, doing longer sessions. Like I do want to build my practice and offering up to like 30 to 60 minute sessions and help people get that experience. But again, like, I understand why people don't do it, because it's the same reason why I fall out of my practice, is because it's just as easy as it is to start, it's easier to not do it. Right? It's like, it's the same reason why people don't go to the gym. It's the same reason why people don't, like eat the best foods. Like a lot of things in life are simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. So just find a quiet, calm space, and just, what if you just focused on your breath for 5 minutes? You could set an alarm at the start, and you could just build your way up. And then after that, maybe journal about it. Like, that's what I was doing. I didn't know that I was doing breath work for years, but that's what I was doing when I was in college and in Chicago. I was sitting just with my eyes closed for 15, 20 minutes at a time. I would set an alarm, and then I would journal about it. And sometimes the journaling felt very much like going through the motions. But other times I would kind of start to think through ideas. And then once I like fully committed to it and actually like decided to get out of my head and get into the emotions of like my body, then my journaling, that became a real thing for me, where I was getting value out of it, because I would be able to think through complex ideas and think through what I thought I believed or what I did believe and what reaffirmed it. And then be able to tell that story and have these conversations with people in a way where I feel like I actually understand it.
Do you think that it's impacted your ability to focus and stay focused?
I think focus is a superpower in the year of 2026. So one of the things that I do talk to people, especially like in the tech space and some of the like people who are deep in code and this AI stuff, it's like, hey man, like if you need a reset, like take 10 minutes and just, it's almost like what's the like naps that Huberman always yoga nidra
Yoga
or
nidra.
something.
Yep.
It's kind of like that, where it's like if you take 10 minutes of just like simple resonant breath, I do think that allows you to refocus, and it can give you an insight into, is this the most important thing to be working on? Because there's so many things to be working on right now, and focus is a superpower. So it's like, how can I use my time and allocate my time in a way that is the most productive, and not necessarily productive in like a checking things off the box, but also like productive for what I'm trying to actually build towards. Because we all have admin tasks that we still need to do. And we could try to automate them away. We could try to spend the time and, you know, get the AI to do it. But either way, like there's going to be things that we have to take care of. So if those are a huge drain on your energy, like for me, then can you do it and then maybe do like a activation type breath work where you then are re-energized for the next thing that you want to do? Or maybe you realize that that's not important. Okay, reset my day. Like I find myself doom scrolling all the fucking time. Can I put my phone in the other room, take 10 minutes, and then actually like work on something that's valuable for me, across a variety of topics and themes? So yeah, I think it's like by far the best way for me that I've found focus, other than like literally putting my phone in the other room or bricking my phone. Like those are the two things that that are vital right now, and that's where the freedom from technology comes, because we do need, technology is a tool, and we need to be able to harness it in a way that allows us to do the things we want to do, build the things that we want to build. But it's also such a trap. It's such a trap, man. Like I spend way too much time on my phone, and like that's where for me, and for me as like someone who talks about a lot of these, and I don't want to say preaches, but definitely invites others to take it on. I like I try to hold myself accountable of integrating these practices, because I'm telling others to do it. But I'm not perfect. I mean, it's great that over the last week I've started to kind of get back into a routine of like morning meditation and breath work, of like journaling and all these other practices that I know are really good for me. But again, like it's just so easy not to.
So speak to that a little bit. How would you help someone, or what would you say to someone that finds it difficult to keep these things front of mind and integrate them into their daily life and remember that they are beneficial? What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, out of sight, out of mind is like, that's my best tip for myself. I know that's not great for a lot of people, but I'm a sucker for chocolate, so I try not to keep chocolate in the house, like out of sight, out of mind. But I also think that it's one of those things where you need to lower your time preference for a lot of this stuff. So what I mean by that is start thinking in a longer time horizon. So again, going back to like your session of that breath work, like in that very short moment, it wasn't working for you. But then if you expand the timeline, like it worked to what you said, it worked exactly how it was intended. And I think a lot of life works that way, as long as you stay on the path and stay positive. So like you do need, and that's a big kind of theme and ethos around spirituality and in like Bitcoin, this Bitcoin project and my beliefs on Bitcoin is like lower your time preference, extend your horizon. So if you start just one day doing a breathwork practice, like you say you're going to take 10 minutes or 20 minutes to do a resonant breathing practice or a coherent breathing practice, where it is literally just you close your eyes and you inhale for 5 seconds, you exhale for 5 seconds. Like simple as that. If you just do that once, like you might be like, oh, that was cool. Like, like I feel a little bit calmer. And then, but then if you do that over and over, it'll be like the meditation that I was doing before I had this training of like, you begin to feel like you're going through the motions because you begin to just, you're like, oh, like I know how this is going to go. And I know I'm going to write about like the same things that I've been writing about, which that's a sign in and of itself. But then if you can surrender and go past that threshold, it's like seeing gains in the gym. It becomes almost addicting. And what's cool about coherent breathing and why I'm so like kind of tied up on it, at least at the moment, is because that's such an easy breath that you can do throughout your day. So what I found over the course of, it was probably like 2 straight months of, I would wake up at early in the morning and sit by my pool at my old apartment complex and just breathe for 20 minutes. Like it was like the sun hadn't even risen yet. I would be by myself. It was awesome. Like I would hear the birds chirping and I would have just like the 2 bells playing in the background to kind of help as a timer because then I don't need to be counting constantly. And what I found though was that just became like my natural breath. So throughout the day, I'm more or less staying in this state of what the yogis would call like a perfect breath of a 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale, or 5.5 second, whatever it is. And like you build that up. And that helps you stay in this very calm, neutral state where I can then go back and forth from my sympathetic to parasympathetic system. And that took a really long time. So, but in the grand scheme, like 2 months, I've been alive for 27 years. So I don't know what percentage of that is, but like that's a short period of time, right?
Yeah,
so like, I think a lot of people are living in this high time preference society where we think that overnight successes actually do exist. And like, dude, like, sure, yes, like you can go viral, but like staying power, durability, like timeless type of work and art, like that is not built overnight. You might have a break that helps you like, kind of reach escape velocity, but that's because of all of the work that you put in up front. And it's hard, especially like one of the things that I've had to really parse through, and it's tested me over the last year since going on this more entrepreneurial startup journey, is balancing that like low time preference versus high time preference, and like understanding, like reward now versus reward later and delaying that gratification. And part of the reason why I fell off of the practice, or both my yoga and breathwork practice over the last, I would say 2 months, probably, maybe even longer, as I'm embarrassed to say it, is because I was so ingrained in this work. And I was I was working all the time, and I still am working a lot. But I'm trying to find a rebalance as I have like a little bit of a break and grace period here. And I think what is amazing with breath work and with a lot of this stuff is like you do kind of build up like a debt of like peace or calm. And I feel like I spent a lot of it over the last few months of trying to make everything like go right. So that's cool. Like I am aware of that. And now I'm like, okay, I don't want to be somebody who's constantly like kind of slingshotting back and forth.
Yeah.
So I want to get better at these practices, but I still find myself slingshotting and going back and being on each side of the spectrum.
So do you have like one mechanism or some sort of reminder that says like, do you have like a daily mantra, or do you have a sign somewhere? Like you said, out of sight, out of mind. So if I would assume that also means that if your good habits are gone, if you neglect your good habits for too long, that it's harder for you to recognize them and pick them back up again. So what mechanisms or habits do you have in order to sort of bring these things back into your life when you have let them go?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that a lot of it is just like my inner voice, like just being like why, asking a follow-up question to myself, like, why are you not going into your backyard and sitting in this silence for, I mean, even 5 minutes? Like, what are you avoiding? And as I start to ask these follow-up questions, it starts to get back to like a lot of the fear-based decision making that we were talking about earlier. And I think that's where like the masculine is really important for men, of like, sometimes you just got to do it. Like you just have to break through the shit. And why am I not doing these things? I can give myself a million bullshit reasons, but then I like look at my screen time and when you do the math of like 4 hours a day and I'm asleep for 8. So like I'm spending 25% of my day on my phone. Are you serious? Like sometimes more. And like, so it's like almost like a guilt myself kind of. And I don't know if that's
keeping yourself accountable.
It's holding myself accountable, but it's also like, is there something that I'm avoiding? And also, is there something that I'm missing? Like even in the last 3 days since I picked back up this practice, like just I've been finding presence throughout the day a lot better. Like noticing birds in the sky, like just noticing something as simple as like I was teaching a class this morning and one of the students, she was struggling, and it was funny because like we were talking before the class started about how she really didn't like teachers that did a lot of like chaturangas. I was like, oh, you're gonna love my class. Sarcasm, because I incorporate a lot of chaturangas. And but she also said at the same point that she had teachers before who were like, power through, like don't go into child's pose. And I'm like, in my classes, like I'm like, you could do whatever you want. Like I'm setting up the framework and the structure. Like I'm your guide. I'm not your teacher.
Nice.
Like I'll try to teach and give some tips, but like you can do whatever you want. If you just want to lay down, like be my guest. But so she kind of shared all that, and I was like, well, there's going to be a good amount of chaturanga, so prepare yourself. But then there was a moment where she was in child's pose. And right as that happened, there was a butterfly that flew like right over her mat, and like she couldn't see it, but I was able to call it out for her. And because I was, having that present awareness, in the class, and I was just like, that's a good omen. I mean, I think butterflies are often seen as good omens. At least I learned that from The Alchemist. That just reminds me of like another one of my teachers. She said, she'll say, she had a teacher or somebody that I'm forgetting to attribute to, but regardless, it was, I don't meditate to see the purples, blues, and yellows up here. I meditate to see the purples, blues, and yellows of the flowers on the side of the road. Because that is like just a moment where you start to like realize, oh, okay, it's not all that serious. Like, I have my mission, I have my purpose, I'm following my dharma, all that like woo-woo type stuff. But it's also like, I'm just having fun. Like I'm trying to find joy in moments, and I'm trying to like project that out to others, because so many people take things so seriously and they're unable to get past that layer of whatever it is that's holding them. Often ego, for sure. And like, I'm sure my ego shows up in ways that I don't understand. It happens to all of us, but at least like I've been able to develop some of these practices that we've been talking about, where I can be like, oh, like that wasn't really cool, or like, oh, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that. And I wish I responded differently. And the next time that shows up, like maybe I will respond differently. And then it just creates a dialogue within both myself and like who I want to be, and who I was for ultimately to come back to the present, right? Like, and I think that's the goal of all these practices, is just like find some moments of presence, and that can really like just give you that like second of calm in your day where you're like, oh, all right, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, what came to mind for me was I recently did like a sort of like a artistic pilgrimage for myself where I went out into Pedernales State Park, did primitive camping, and took some mushrooms while I did it,
Nice.
and like did a whole thing the whole day. And presence has been a big thing for me over the last few years of like trying to come into the present moment. And only when I've noticed that when I find presence is when I am able to practice gratitude to the fullest. And I've just equated gratitude is nothing but presence and appreciation for the present moment,
Sure.
whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And it can be something as mundane as, you know, seeing a flower grow through the, concrete or whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
But
my
pilgrimage thing,
Yeah.
like this, one of the biggest epiphanies that I had, which was I had been battling my ego for so long up until this. That's why I needed this pilgrimage for myself. And one of the things I wrote was, I am just life experiencing itself for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's like remembering that. And
profound.
being able to step outside of that ego of like, I'm supposed to have this all figured out. I'm supposed to be efficient. I'm supposed to manage my screen time. I'm supposed to do breath work. I'm supposed to do this, blah, 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 blah. I am life experiencing itself for the first time. Take a breath and enjoy the fucking present moment. And it was profound.
That's a bar. That's a bar. So yeah, I agree. I mean, what came up for me was two instances where I'm like very proud of myself for practicing presence. One of them was, I think this was Father's Day, like probably, I don't know, 5 years ago. I don't know. But it was me, my two brothers, and my dad playing around at golf. We were on a par 3, and I hit a beautiful shot, and it was like over the water, and then the pin was kind of like in the middle, like after a hill, and the ball like hit the front of the hill, rolls up, and then rolls down to the point where we can't see it from where we are. And we get in the car, and like they all swing, and they're all like, "Oh my god, like that might have gone in, like it might have been a hole in one." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know, like we can't see it." So we get in the cart, and I'm driving, and like we pull up just a little bit. We still can't see the ball. And then I stop the car, and I like turn to my dad, turn to my brothers, and I was like, "Let's just take a moment here to acknowledge that this might have been a hole in one. Like that's pretty cool. Like let's sulk in this moment, like because you don't know until you know." Did not hit a hole in one. I think I missed the birdie putt. But regardless, that was just one of those things where I was like proud of myself, because I've totally detached from this, but there was a time where I took golf way too seriously. Because it's a fun sport, but like you can really drive yourself nuts trying to hit a ball this big in literally the open air of the world into a cup like this big. But so I was proud of myself for that one. And then the other one, so part of my work is we put on
I want to talk about a little bit more about that experience.
Okay.
That experience, because it's beautiful what you mentioned. You know, you had the presence of mind to slow down enough to delay gratification, enough to sit in the tension of what might be.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
Schrödinger's hole in one.
There you go.
Still yet to hit the hole in one.
Love it.
But it's funny because like it's also golf.
Well, my question is though, how did you have the presence of mind to do that for yourself?
I think because something like a hole in one is, I don't care what anybody says, it's pure luck. Like so many things have to go right. And the trajectory of the ball, where it lands, like all of it going in, it's just a moment of pure, like, just everything goes right. And how often does that really happen, right? So I mean, I think I was just like, this is something that people will go their entire lives never seeing. So what if you just delayed it a little bit more and built it up and built it up?
It's so difficult to break that pattern that we have of just our daily lives. If you're out playing golf with your family And, the typical pattern is, oh, I'm excited, about the shot, whatever it is. And so it's like you had the presence of mind to break a very deeply ingrained pattern, which is to close a loop of excitement.
Yeah, I'd be like,
right?
did it go in? Did it go
Yeah.
in? And I don't know. I mean, I just like, I just think at that time, especially being with my brothers and being with my dad, like it was really special. And none of us have ever hit a hole in one. Like, not so. It's like bragging rights that you'd be able to have for the rest of time, and like there's so much that goes into it. But again, it's bragging rights for something that takes a lot of luck. Like it takes a lot of luck. So there's a whole bunch of nuances into it, but. Yeah, I really don't know. But the reason, so I say that because, or I guess maybe this will help kind of unravel some of that, is because last year in October, so part of my work is we host like a lot of summits across the freedom technology space, and our biggest summit of the year that we host in October is called our Imagine If Summit. It's the convergence of Bitcoin, AI, and energy. And typically our summits are smaller, intimate crowds, like anywhere from 200 to 250 people. But this is our capstone where it's like more like 1,000 people. And we rent out a theater on Belmont campus, Belmont University in Nashville. It's a beautiful theater that is like almost, again, it's our capstone. It's like the biggest thing that we're doing, or did do last year and doing again this year. And we grinded for this, like a small team of 4-5 people, just absolutely like it worked so hard. And it finally came to like the day that, or the night before that it was happening, and we set up we had everything set up, and like we felt good because we had walked through all of like the scenarios and all of the run of show of the day and these panels, talks, keynotes, etc. And like part of us are like, we hope this is going to work because we've never really done anything like this, at least on this scale. But also there was a part of us that was like, no, like we feel good. There was like a calm that was in between us. And we were driving from the theater, probably like, I don't know, 10, 11 p.m. at night, getting ready to all wake up at like 5 a.m. the next morning to get to the theater right when they opened. And as we were leaving the theater, my boss was driving his car, and I was like, let's stop for a second. Let's like take a moment to acknowledge how much work we put in over the last 2.5, 3 months. Like we spun all this together in like a relatively short period of time. And we're like, and this is going to kick ass over the next 2 days. Like this is going to be the best experience that these attendees have all year. And that's our goal for all of our summits. But this was our biggest one. So like we wanted that's what we want. We want people to be just blown away with the experience. And it was really funny because like they were kind of like, shut the fuck up, Jack. like let's go to bed. Yeah. But again, I was really proud of myself in that moment because, and this is similar to the hole in one, where it's like having that presence of mind of like knowing how much work you put in. I mean, of just knowing like all of the nuances and different things that come into play to get this set up, and being able to say, all right, like let's enjoy this for a second, because we don't know what's going to happen once like we say go, and there's going to be things that come up, and there's going to be some things that go wrong. And like I remember like I was dealing with some like technical issues and like wrangling speakers and all these things. So those are things that you can't control, and you can try to like put out those fires when they happen. But just having that presence is something that I want to, I don't want to lose awareness of, because it's like because then you're just only operating for like the next milestone or the next goal. And when you have a lower time preference, I believe that's where, when you hear people say like, trust the process, or I love the process, like these are cliches that they exist for a reason. I mean, going back to the story of like me finding this job, this current job that I'm in, and like a lot of the path of me offloading or offboarding from my previous job, I just kept hearing all these cliches, like you're doing the right things, like keep going, like the only way out is through, like all these cliches that it drove me crazy. But then I started to realize like, oh, they're cliches because they're true. Like I actually I did need to go through those journeys and those trials and tribulations to get there. So yeah, I think that was like a moment of just like realizing like we put in the work, that we know that we are prepared for this, and the separation is in the preparation. And that's why we were successful. That's why we're able to like do this and do it again, and then continue to build it and continue to scale it, because we're all operating in that timeline, that extended timeline of like, the fun part is the process. Like the actual thing is like a reward, but the fun part is the work that we're putting in to bring this thing to life. So I guess that adjacently answers your question of like, of like how I had it, because I mean, I was swinging a golf. I've been swinging a golf club since I was pretty young.
Yeah.
So, and like never came close to a hole in one.
Yeah. But I mean, more, outside of the context of the golf shot, it's cultivating a deep appreciation for the present moment, for the process of things, and for the experience of life as it unfolds in front of you.
Right.
And so it's, what skills or habits or mechanisms, was it breath work, was it yoga, what practices help you to sort of slow down and feel good slowing down, and recognize that, hey, this is something that deserves my attention. This process.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it does come back to the breath, because if you don't tackle some of the smaller things that come up, whether it's like, the dishes building up in the sink, or like paperwork that's due at a specific date, like, and you just let it sit, then it grows and it grows, and then it begins to compound. And then it becomes something where it's like, oh, I could have done laundry and folded that, and it would have taken me 20 minutes, but now I need to do a double load. And now I'm like spending my weeknight like folding laundry instead of going to bed, or instead of reading this book, or instead of watching this podcast, or anything else that I would rather be doing. Right. So I think that it helps really uncover those. And like, I love how Naval talks about like the mind as like an email inbox, and he talks about this on his Rogan episode that came out like, I think in 2018, where the mind is like an email inbox, and a lot of us have really cluttered inboxes. And if you have a cluttered inbox, like, it's harder to understand your priorities, because something that may seem small is actually important. Something that may seem big is like a nothing burger. So coming back to like a meditation practice or a breathwork practice, you let things come up to the surface, and you'll notice these patterns of like, oh, I feel like I'm feeling like this is not right. And it's hard to explain what that means when something's not right, or when something does feel right, because it feels like it comes from something that's like totally just in the ether. But if you follow your curiosity and you scratch that itch, then you can explore it, and you can see like, oh, this is a relationship that I want to pursue, or this is a project that I want to kind of build out. Or this is something that's no longer serving me, and I am going to just either slowly wane off, or cold turkey, out of sight, out of mind. And it's one of those things that it comes back to the individual. But what's cool is you can say, is this something that I can control? Right? Like, is this something that I have control over and I can make that change? And a lot of society now is trying to like offload that, and like just let everyone else take care of our problems for us. But that's only led to some of the worst statistics in mental health and like the worst like outcomes possible from a variety of topics and things. That I think if we provided people more agency to not feel like they had to have it all figured out at once, but also be able to provide and support for their own lives and the people that they care about, then you can develop practices that allow you to find something that you enjoy doing. And when you find something that you enjoy doing and it's providing a service of others, then you'll get rewarded for it. And that's not just spiritual. That's also thought of in religion. That's thought of across like a lot of different practices of, if you project out good into the world, then good will return onto you. And like talking about mantras, one of the mantras that I've repeated to myself a lot over the last year is life is a mirror. And I try to project out good vibes, like good vibes, super vague. But like, I try to make people smile. I try to make them laugh. I try to be engaged in the conversation. And I want to just be a presence for people to find some sort of connection. And I pride myself on being able to build rapport with people really fast. I mean, I told you about my tic-tac-toe endeavors. We don't need to get too deep into that if you don't want, but I do pride myself on being able to connect with people. I think that's one of the skills or the gifts that I've been blessed with, from people with all sorts of different backgrounds and from all sorts of different, views and things of that nature. So yeah, it's it becomes like one of those things where I get energy from it, and I want to do it more. And then I also am not like, oh, I need to get rewarded for this right now, because I truly think that the things that I'm doing, I will get rewarded in ways that might not seem like rewards for other people, or maybe it'll be like a partial of a reward, and it's like, all right, there's a taste, but maybe I should either lean in more, or am I doing the wrong thing? Like that's like the extent to that service or good or whatever. So yeah, I would say that it at the end of the day, it comes back to just trying to take agency within yourself, which is scary. It's hard, but it's also like super rewarding and a little addicting once you start to get through some of those trials and tribulations, and you get like feedback and like real feedback. Because I guess just last kind of point on that is, one of living in this like optimizer bro society where everybody's trying to measure everything and people are constantly judging and comparing and contrasting, is like, it's really easy to measure the dollar amount that somebody has, and it's easy to fake too, don't get me wrong, but it's easy to measure the dollar amount that you have in your account every month or week or day for some people, right? Like I mean I look at the Bitcoin price a lot, like that's a talk about ego. But it's really easy to measure that, but then there are things that are immeasurable but also compound in ways like relationships and connections and practices and opportunities that you don't see on the surface. So it's a lot harder to measure. So it's like when you hear something like the only way out is through, you're like, what does that mean? And it's like, just keep collecting these XP points to when you'll finally you'll know it when you see it. Another cliche. Like I remember when I was so desperate to leave my job, and I knew that there was an opportunity. I was like, I know I'm doing all the right things. I know the only way out is through. Like this I was taught, this is like when I was at the height of my practice, I was so present and so aware of like everything that I was doing and so confident in it that I would just like write in my journal, like, the opportunity is coming. I don't know what it is, but when it's there, I will kick the door down. And
beautiful.
And that came to fruition January of last year when I was in Nashville. I was volunteering at a summit, our Nashville Energy and Mining Summit. And I was talking to my now boss. He was telling me how he was expanding his operation to Austin. And I said to him straight up, I said, whatever you need, I'll be your boots on the ground. And then over the course of the next like 4 to 6 weeks, I proved to him, like literal proof of work. I volunteered pretty much full time for him, helping him get this operation set up. And then finally I was like, all right, man, like let's make a deal. Like let's figure out how I can do this full time, because I'm trying to leave my job. I basically quiet quit at the time. But I was still working that previous job, doing like as little as possible. But I was very secure in that I had accepted the consequences of that for this. And that was the opportunity that I was like, I am going to take this thing and I'm going to run with it, and nobody is going to catch me, because I want to be that point of contact in Austin, Texas, where I believe that I can help build this thing. Year and a half later, I mean, I would say that it's been one of the most fun experiences, that I'm constantly learning, constantly just collecting feedback, hearing different perspectives, and trying new things that, I don't regret it in the slightest. Like, I'm so excited for what the next however long is going to bring me, like the next 2, 10, 20 years. Like, it's just continuing to build and stack and seeing this growth compound, because in what I gave up from the previous job, I have gained in so many other areas of growth and skills and like just competence, that now I feel like I'm much more confident in how I show up in a room, like and not in a bullshitter way, in a way where I can speak from real experience, versus before I was kind of like, I was a little white lie here and there.
Yeah, I love that that your journal entry of like, I don't know what it's gonna be, but when it gets here, I'm fucking ready. For me, my mantra has been, I'm on the right path. For me, that's my version of that. It's like, I don't know what it looks like. It looks different than his. It looks different from that one, but I'm on the right path for me. We've covered a lot of ground here in this conversation, and
fun.
Kind of one last question I have for you is about integration. We've talked about breathwork, we've talked about yoga, we've talked about awareness, presence, Bitcoin. We've talked about a lot of things. How do you practice this integration from all of these learnings that you're getting as you experience new and deeply impactful things in your life? How do you integrate those in your daily life?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it talking about like the volunteering, but this idea of proof of work. So one of the like staples of why Bitcoin works as like a network is because you need to exert real energy in order to mine a block. And I'm not going to get too deep into the technicals of how like proof of work mining is just the best way to reach consensus for the next block to be added to the chain. But proof of work is kind of self-explanatory. You need to prove that you put in the work. And you can't fake it. You cannot fake proof of work. Like, you could try to fake it, but there's a lot you're building out in the open, and people are going to see, and somebody who knows more than you or whatever, like if they call you out on your bullshit, then you better be prepared to either back up your statements or just like take your ball and go home. And I've come to analyze and synthesize this idea of proof of work around every aspect of my life. And that's one of the things that I noticed of studying like the great entrepreneurs throughout history and artists and all these things, is like they don't fake it. Like, they're not overnight successes. It's not like, a lot of people will say fake it till you make it, but then when you actually like listen to what they did, it's like, no, you had an opportunity and you seized on it because you put in the work, right? And like, I don't think just like you can't fake a proof of work in regard to the energy exertion of Bitcoin, you can't fake like mental like stability. You might be able to fake it up to an extent, but then like we've seen a lot of stories both in the news and I'm sure in our lives where it's like somebody snaps and it's like, wait, this is cognitively dissonant from what I expected from that person or from that thing. And I think that is really hard. It's a constant struggle. But what's beautiful about Bitcoin and these other things is there is what's called the difficulty adjustment, right? So basically, the more you give, the harder it gets, the difficulty increases to find the same like percentage of growth. But that's like on an exponential curve. So like a 1% growth now for me is so much larger than what a 1% growth like 2 years ago would have been. Are you following kind of what I'm saying? Yep. But the reverse can work too, where like if I have bad days and where like I can give myself grace. So if I'm like waking up at 5 a.m. 6 a.m. for a full week to put on an experience and make it as good as possible, then I'll give myself some grace the next week and wake up at 9. Like I'll alter the difficulty and
find balance.
Yeah, and find balance. At the end of the day, that's basically what it is, right? So I think, I don't know if that really makes sense in terms of your question, but I think from an integration perspective, it's like, okay, I'm building in public. I'm doing this work that I believe is important across a lot of different factions and pillars. And I just want to be able to be as honest as possible with people on what I believe and share some of the facts or the statistics that I've learned about. And I'm willing to have the conversation of like why that may or may not be true. I don't go around being like, I'm a breathwork expert or I'm a Bitcoin expert. Like, no, I have experience in these things and I know how to talk about them because I enjoy researching it and I like talking about it. But yeah, I can mess up. It's not like I'm trying to deceive people. Like I'm not like telling you one thing when I know that the opposite is true. I'm not trying to lie. I'm trying to be as honest as possible. I want to work in an honest environment. And I think that's the projection where then people will start to build up trust with me and want to then build with me, right? And collaborate and do things that are mutually beneficial. I mean, bringing it back to Naval, one of the things that he talks about in the same podcast with Rogan is like this idea of positive sum games. And so many things in society feel like negative sum, where it's like, if I'm scoring a point, then that means I'm taking that point from you, versus we can both just like score points. We can both add value for both of ourselves. And I like playing positive sum games. I don't want to play negative sum or zero sum games. So yeah, at the end of the day, it always comes back to proof of work. Like if you say you're going to do something, do it. If not, then have a good reason. And just, work in an honest network. Like try to just embody what you say. Right. Like, and I'm trying to do that. I realize that there are shortcomings that I have, but that's okay because I'm not trying to go around being like, I'm perfect. I'm trying to go around figuring this out myself, and finding ways to like set up. I think the word systems has lost a lot of its luster in the age of optimization. But setting up like systems, protocols, there was a word that I think it was this part of our conversation you used? Maybe discipline. I guess it's the same idea. Setting up disciplines where like you at least get a taste of it and you don't lose it too much to where then you're getting into like negative mental like health and you're actually like in a deficit of the amount of breath work that you need to do to get back to a state of like calm and neutral. But yeah, I mean, it's a constant journey. Like I have some really fun travels upcoming that I'm excited about, where I'm excited to hopefully share some of these practices with others and also use them to enhance my experience in these new places that I'm going to be. And like, I think that's a really cool integration of all of this, because I'm going to be with people that I am working with professionally, but also bringing in like this like side quest type thing that I'm doing, this woo-woo shit that allows it to just merge together. And at the end of the day, it helps like find a moment of presence in a time where we're constantly distracted.
Beautiful. Jack, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks for
Because
having me.
dude, you're one of my favorite people that I've met in Austin so far. Like you're this
Likewise,
awesome
man.
amalgamation of tech and yogi and breath and all this stuff, and it's a lot of things that I value in life as well. And
I appreciate that.
yeah, man, I really like your vibe and your energy, and you're a good dude. So
Thank you,
thank
sir.
you for coming on, man. Is there anything else that you want to like promote or anything that you got going on?
No, I mean, nothing crazy. Like, so I've mentioned Bitcoin Park. Like, we host meetups in the Freedom Tech space. So you can find any of our meetups that we host downtown. Bitcoinpark.com/Austin. That's our meetup page. And then from like a personal project stuff, I mentioned quite a few podcasts that I listened to throughout this, and I've been listening to podcasts since I was in high school. Long story short, I got a bad concussion, couldn't watch TV, so I started listening to podcasts, and I really like the evergreen podcasts that you can just like go back and re-listen to and find new nuggets of wisdom. So I started like a mini little podcast series called Timeless Practice that I basically reflect on these podcasts that I've been listening to for a while. So some of my favorite podcasts that I keep going back to and just like drawing connections and things like that.
Called Timeless Podcast?
Timeless Practice on YouTube. I guess my website is jacklesser.me. So now I'm just full shilling everything. I said I didn't have much to promote.
Yeah.
My website's jacklesser.me. So that'll show you where you can
put
find
everything in the show notes.
Yeah, like that has the connect button where you can find all of my Substack, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. But no, I mean I totally appreciate this conversation, because like one of the things that I think is so valuable now is like talking through these ideas and you asking great questions and following up of like challenging some of these stuff, not like you're wrong, but like clarify that, like what are you really getting at there. So I appreciate that, because it forces me to be like, what am I getting at there? Like, am I just bullshitting? God damn, I need to, that's an old pattern that I need to keep shedding. So I really enjoyed this conversation. So yeah, thank you, man. It's been a blast.
Yeah. There's a closing tradition on this podcast where each guest leaves a book recommendation for the next guest.
Cool.
And so while you think of your title, I will present you with the book that was left for you.
Okay.
This was left by the last guest, and it is called Rules for a Night by Ethan Hawke.
Okay.
I have not read it, but from what I understand, it's just a collection of stories about...
Ethan Hawke's an actor, right?
That is the name of an actor, but I don't think this is the same guy.
Oh, what's he in?
I don't think that's Mission Impossible guy. I think this is a different guy.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you.
His face is on the back, I think.
Different Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
Looks familiar though.
Yeah.
Either way, this is dope. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah. I've had a slight struggle recently finding like books to read, because I'll just like start and then I'll just be like, nah, and like throw it to the side. So this will be one that I'm gonna get through this, because it's gifted. So it's like there's a
no
reason.
Pressure. You don't have to.
No, but I want to. I mean,
yeah.
This is dope. So the book that I love to recommend, so when I was thinking about this, I didn't want to just say The Alchemist, because I feel like that's like a little too mainstream, but I do think everybody should read The Alchemist, especially if you're like trying to go on your personal journey and like the trials and tribulations. And I try to reread that book like every year. But the not as well-known book that I wanted to grant, that was one of my favorite reads like ever, it's like my top score on my Goodreads, is it's called Ishmael by Daniel Quinn. Have you read it? So Ishmael is basically the story of a boy and an ape, and the ape is a teacher that tells the boy how humanity came to be. And it's like spiritual, it's kind of biblical, it goes through like all these different kind of stories of the Bible and the Torah. But it just really opened my eyes to a lot of the culture that we have today, and it's fully fiction, but it's kind of like pulling on truths.
Sure.
And yeah, it really changed my perspective on like not only lowering your time preference, but also like what is truly important in your life, and where are you like doing things that are in this book, it's like harmful in an environmental sense, but it's also just that can apply to a lot of different things. Like from, do you really need to be like, do you really need to be a taker in this situation, or can you be a giver? So yeah, Ishmael is a freaking fire book. It's, I need to reread that as well. And like, that was, that was one of the kind of like, I guess, just jumping off points where it like brought it back to the front of mind. And then the sequel, Story of B. If you liked Ishmael, then read Story of B. But
All right.
you could start with Ishmael, and yeah, it's just I can't recommend it enough. It's funny because I think a lot of like the books that I was required to read in high school that I didn't actually read and just like skated by, I'm like now like going back to some of those reading lists, being like, like, damn, The Catcher in the Rye, like that's a sick book. That's a really good book. Like you know, like I wish I read Crime and Punishment, but I just didn't. And now it's like a 1,000-page book. I'm like, oh goddamn, like 1,000 pages.
I wish I had more time. Like I wish I had more time. I wish there wasn't so much to read, that I could go back and read the classics that I should have read when I was younger.
Totally.
And now
totally.
I feel like a little bit.
I mean, speaking of quotes, Rick Rubin had a really, I wish I remembered it. He has only one post on his Instagram right now, and it was like, time is a lot less patient today, or something like that. And I was just like, oh wow, that's fire. I think that's fire. So I totally get that. Like you begin to realize just time speeds up, slows down. It really it is what we make of it. But yeah, some of the like 1,000-page books that I've been recommended, I'm like, that's just a long, like that's a long book. Like that's a lot. Like
it's a commitment.
Yeah, it's a full-on commitment.
All right, man. Well, thank you again for coming on the pod, dude.
Thank you so much. This was, like I said, this was awesome. I mean, aho to this conversation. I'm excited to listen back and hear all the dumb shit I said.
Well, a couple weeks, it'll be out.
Let's go.
All right, brother.
Hopefully some people can find some nuggets of wisdom.
I'm 100% sure that they will. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, bro.
This is great.
Oh.
It was fun.
It was fun.
How long did we go for?
I think like 2.5 hours.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, maybe 2:15.
Okay.